Hello my fellow freedom builders and welcome back to the channel. Now a couple of weeks ago I made my last Nikola video and I said in that video that it would take a while and some really exciting news before I made a new Nikola video. Now, right now there's simply so much news about them, so I thought I would just recap it all in one video so you could see what is actually going on. Because there are both some really bad news about Nikola, but there are also some good news that actually could promise maybe that this company has some chance of surviving. Maybe. If you have seen my entire series about Nikola, I started several months ago when not many YouTubers were out saying that, and I started to analyze Nikola, and I said that I thought it was a scam show. And all of a sudden it was all over the media, and right now, of course, as you know, Trevor Milton, the founder and chairman, he has simply withdrawn from the company. He is nowhere to be found. He deleted his Twitter profile. Luckily enough, a lot of my YouTube colleagues have been wise enough to take a lot of screen dumps of his Twitter profile and messages, because there are some really juicy stuff in there that where he actually kind of approves the scams we're talking about here. But today I'm gonna go through these 5-6 largest developments in this case, and as I said, they're both good and bad news, and I'll try to give my interpretation of this news. Some of it is 100% certain fact, some of it is rumors, and some of them is something in between. I've tried to verify the information as well as I could, but some of it I have to speculate a bit, but I'll tell you when that is, so you know what is fact and what is my own thoughts about it. First of all, the Nikola stock went through the roof on some news that they were having this collaboration with GM. And that was great. GM were to get $2 billion worth of stocks in Nikola. And in the beginning, the news was that it was kind of a 50-50 equal agreement. Now, it was not. It was actually Nikola selling completely out to GM. Nikola should give GM $700 million to produce a manufacturing plant. GM would get 80% of these environmental credits that they get in the United States when selling an EV or hydrogen car or truck. And pretty much Nikola should use all of GM's tech. So it kind of turned out the way that Nikola didn't have any tech of their own, not in batteries, not in hydrogen, not in anything. Now, when all of this shitstorm hit Nikola, GM went out pretty quickly and said, we are still sticking to the deal. However, it is delayed now, or at least they are renegotiating, or I read several articles about it and they're calling it a bit different names. Some of it is a delay, some of it is postponed, some of it is some renegotiation. What I think is happening, and here's one of the things where it is completely my own speculations. What I think is happening is that GM, first of all, they have found out that it is a complete bad deal from a PR perspective. Of course, it is a very good deal from them because Nikola is paying them a load of money, and GM can sell all their tech and they can be branded as this innovative green thing. But they have found out that Nikola is tainted. They're not as good as a brand now as they were just a couple of months ago. So what I think is, I don't think that GM will run away right now from the deal. I think that they will try to, first of all, they got 11% of the company worth $2 billion. Now, since the stock price had been cut in half, of course, that part is only worth $1 billion now. And since they have 90 days to verify the deal, it could be that GM is actually considering that they want twice as much stock. So they want 22% of the total stocks, or maybe even more. It could be that they are saying to Nikola, well, if you want to survive and if you want to be a part of this deal, we kind of see us as the only one that wants to work with you right now, so you please give us 50% of the company. I don't know. This is pure speculation, but if I were GM, I would do something like that. Also, I think that was my speculation in one of my earlier videos, that if Nikola were to survive, they would simply just be some sort of sub-brand under GM. That could also be a part of the negotiations here, where they're saying that why don't we just take over Nikola, kind of delist it in a way, and then just let Nikola be a brand under GM. I'm not so certain about that, but I have been trying to speculate what could happen with these delayed negotiations. Another thing is, of course, if I were GM, I would take a very deep look into Nikola's financials and see if Nikola are to pay GM $700 million, that is pretty much every single dime they have in their war chest. They have around 700 million, maybe 750, I don't remember, but around $700 million. And if they pay GM $700 million, and they also have to put some money into their collaboration with Iveco, they have to do a lot of tests, as I'm showing in the business plan they have laid out. The new CEO and chairman, they have laid a new plan out, which is actually kind of positive. But that plan needs a lot of money to be put into it in research and development. And if Nikola gives $700 million to GM, they have nothing left. So what I see is that GM might be saying, yeah, well, we will take only half of it, the 350 million, but then we want 10% extra stake in Nikola or whatever. There are a million different combinations here. And I'm not sure that the deal simply falls apart, but I think GM is shrewd enough to kind of eat Nikola alive when they are in the situation like this. So that is definitely something I'm looking at. Another news is that they were partnering up with BP, which is this huge oil company, energy company, and BP apparently were close to signing a deal where they would help Nikola develop this network of hydrogen stations all over the United States. And they were to sign that deal, as far as I can tell, a few days after the Hindenburg report hit the media. And all of a sudden, BP could see that this was kind of a toxic deal to enter, and they pull out of it without signing anything. Now, as we'll see in the business plan, Nikola is expecting to sign a deal with developing this hydrogen network at the end of this year, I think it is. But we don't know who it's with, or I don't know who it's with. It could be BP that has returned to the table and say we want a better deal, but it could also be someone else. As I have said in a ton of different videos now, is that I do understand why they want to partner up with, let's say, BP. Let's say it is BP that ended up being their business partner in this hydrogen network. Now, from day one, hydrogen, well, that's not true. It's not from day one, because day one, Trevor Milton started out saying that Nikola was a compressed natural gas truck developer. But let's just say from day two, he decided that no, they wanted to take over the world with hydrogen instead. And from that day, they have said that they would be vertically integrated and that they would make every single cent of selling the hydrogen to the truck in the entire lifetime of the truck. Now, what I've been saying in all my videos is, then you cannot take in partners, because if you take in a partner that needs to put 10 or 20 or 50 billion dollars into building this network, then they want the largest chunk of the money for selling the hydrogen. That makes sense. No one wants to put billions and billions into these stations just because of the environment or something like that. They want some return on their capital. And the second that Nikola is partnering up, they are simply destroying that narrative that Trevor Milton has been saying from day one, that they will be making money on the trucks and on the stations and on the hydrogen they sell and everything. So I understand why they want to do this, and I think it is great. I think that we need as many alternative energy sources and fuel sources as possible. So I really applaud if these plans are fulfilled. But I'm just saying that the reason for the hype in the Nikola stock was, one of the reasons was that they would be making all of the money on the hydrogen. Partnering up with someone building the network will cut at least 50, 70, maybe 90% of their earnings from the hydrogen, meaning that all of the nice calculation Trevor Milton showed us as to how much they would make on a truck because they also could sell the hydrogen, these calculations are simply not valid anymore. So that was another news story. Then Nikola did a very, very dumb move. They simply moved into the biggest shitstorm of them all because a lot of YouTubers, me included, but a lot of YouTubers, I have made a picture of Tom Nash here because he's one of my really favorite YouTubers, and you should look him up on YouTube, just called Tom Nash, and he's making some wonderful videos where he's taking on scammers and cheaters on the internet and in the business world. And of course, he has taken on Nikola as well. And what happened was that many of these YouTubers are a lot better at editing their videos than I am. So they have edited all sorts of material, video material into the videos that could be of the Nikola 1 that was rolling down a hill, that was not driving by itself, but was just pretty much pushed down a hill and then we're rolling and Nikola was saying, here you see the Nikola 1 in motion. And a lot of these YouTubers have been using this footage from Nikola. And Nikola was kind of getting tired of all of us small YouTubers, so they simply started to copyright strike us. A copyright strike is something where if you think you have some footage, some movie clips that is being abused on YouTube by some other YouTuber, you can simply hit them with a copyright strike. And the rules in YouTube is a bit strange here because the accuser always have the right until the accused can prove that it is not copyright. It is a really strange and reverse theory here or practice. So what happened was that Tom Nash and a number of YouTubers that have used the footage, they simply started to get copyright strikes from Nikola, even though they just used Nikola's own PR material from their website, from Twitter and so on. They were only using a few seconds. They were talking with their own voice over it. So they were pretty much fulfilling all the criteria that should allow them to do that. But Nikola got it right, and they were actually close to closing a number of these YouTube channels. But then Financial Times got hold of the story, and it simply blew up in the head of Nikola themselves, because all of a sudden they were in the world's largest shitstorm, and there was a telephone storm and email storm and Twitter storm on Nikola, asking what the F they were thinking, and there were politicians contacting them and all sorts of media. And it only took a day or two, and then they backed away and they said that they would not copyright strike anyone. But it just, yeah, I would say it's just so typical scam companies. When they are caught in the corner they have painted themselves up in, then they start with these crazy circus tricks here. And I am very glad that they lost that case. So, yeah, there's that. All right. Next story, and I promised I will get some positive stories as well, and I will end up with a positive story. But if you have been following the Nikola story, then you might know that Nikola have sued Tesla for, I think it is $2 billion, because, and this to the left is Nikola's truck, and this is Tesla's truck, and they are accusing Tesla of stealing their design. And there are a lot of arguments here, because what Tesla is saying is that we actually had this design, but we had not patented it or copyrighted it. So then Nikola stole it, and then they took a patent on it, and then they sued Tesla, and there are all sorts of accusations here. I'm not sure which one is the right, but what Nikola wrote in their lawsuit was, or what Trevor Milton wrote there and their lawyers, that they had spent countless hours and months and years developing this, and they had spent millions and billions and sweat and tears and paid their firstborn babies simply to get this Nikola design, and now it was a perfect aerodynamic design with batteries incorporated and all sorts of stuff. So therefore, of course, Tesla would have to pay $2 billion. Knowing the Nikola financial situation right now, we know that $2 billion would mean the world to Nikola. So that would be really nice for them to win this. And of course, a mentally important victory if they could beat Tesla here. But what happened was that Tesla all of a sudden produced evidence that it was not Nikola that had designed it. They had simply purchased the design from some unknown designer, and they had paid a few $1,000s for it. And when you look at the design here to the left, I know you can't see too much of it, but this is pretty much the design. When you see all the different angles, then you can see that this designer, he was the one that made it, and he got paid a few $1,000s. So what Nikola has been doing is they have been lying in their lawsuit. They might be right that they have the right for this, but what the Tesla lawyers came up with was, yeah, well, when you're lying about this, then what more are you lying about? And it seems like the lawsuit from Nikola towards Tesla is pretty much falling apart now, because Nikola had been lying about that they have worked hours and nights and days and holidays and spent thousands of man hours making this design, when the basic designs were made by another and purchased for a few $1,000s. So that's another story. And yeah, you almost couldn't believe it. If I saw a movie where this was the plot, I would simply walk out in the pause from the cinema, because I would think this was the most unlikely story I have ever heard. But this is plain truth. All right, now to the good news, which is mixed with a bit of, I don't know, part bad news. But what the new Nikola management has come out with is they want to show that they have a plan. They want to show that they can survive, and they might be able to. I'm not 100% certain, but at least now they have a plan. And this actually made the stock jump up 20 or 25% in a single day last week. I know that it was from a lower level, but still it was quite a lot. And that was simply because investors like certainty. They don't like risk and the unknown. So when the new management come up with a plan, the investors say, yes, finally, some certainty. So let's just have a quick look here. Now, we can see here, this is Q4 2020, and it runs into 2023. The Q4 2020, they have begin the Nikola Tre BEV testing and complete the Nikola Tre BEV prototypes. Okay, so that is battery electrical vehicle, no hydrogen here. And I actually think this is a good move from them to move into the battery part, because the hydrogen part would need a lot of investments in this hydrogen network, and they don't have the partners for it right now. So the battery tech is really there. Just remember that this is not the revolutionizing battery tech that Trevor Milton was talking about. That doesn't exist. That's my claim, at least. So this is just, you could say, quote unquote, normal battery tech. They will probably get some tech from GM, maybe, but in this collaboration along the Badger as well. But what this is completing, or at least beginning and completing, the Nikola Tre battery prototypes. Then at the end of the year, they will announce a hydrogen station collaboration. That could be BP, that could be someone else. I'm not certain if that is just their hope, because they have talked all 2020 here about a partner for the Badger, and they were just desperately finding the GM deal in the end here. But I'm not sure if this one is actually ready to be announced. But anyway, they will announce it. It states so here in the plan. And substantial completion of the manufacturing building modification in Ulm, where some of the trucks will be made. All right, Q1 2021, manufacture second batch of Tre battery test trucks. So we're still talking about the battery, and we're still talking about test trucks. Q1 2021. Now in Q2, they want to break ground on the first commercial hydrogen station. And I'm not completely sure why, because when I look in the timeline here, there's not really any hydrogen trucks right in the next couple of years. So why they would spend money on building their first commercial hydrogen station, that is a bit of a mystery to me. It might be some PR stunt here, or I'm not sure why, because to have a functioning commercial hydrogen station, it would be most useful to have some customers, I guess, to make it a commercial hydrogen station. And if you haven't produced any hydrogen vehicles, then who should use your stations? I know that there are other manufacturers that builds hydrogen cars and hydrogen trucks, but it is not really a thing yet. So why they would spend money when they don't have any here in 2021 on a commercial hydrogen station, that is a bit of a mystery. All right, then the Ulm facility assembly line complete for start of the Tre BEV production. So hopefully for Nikola, in Q3, in about a year from now, they will be ready almost to start the battery electrical vehicle production in Ulm. Fair enough. So far so good. So they are actually planning to start getting some vehicles out on the road and get some money in and get some experience and get some data and make all the mistakes now and learn from them so they can build a better product. I really appreciate it. What I am questioning here is that they have a lot of competitors in the battery space. I do understand why they do that, because that is the lower hanging fruits. It is the easy market to go to. It is easy, quote unquote, easy to charge the trucks and so on. There's also the electric grid already built for them, so they don't need to build the entire infrastructure. However, they are competing with Tesla and Mercedes and all of the big producers of trucks are right now ready to roll out some battery electrical trucks. So what I can tell from the specs is that the Nikola truck will be able to run somewhere between 350 miles on a charge, and that's what they have been saying all along, that the BEVs should be for the short haul and the hydrogen for the long hauls. Fair enough. But as far as I can tell, Tesla is actually making one that can go between 400 and 500 miles, between 400 and 500 miles on a charge. So they are already behind, and Tesla have the entire infrastructure ready with the charging stations and superchargers and all that stuff. People know Tesla. Tesla has a good brand. Nikola's brand is a bit tainted right now. So I understand they're going this way, but I think they will have a hard time really start getting a huge load of customers in. But only time will tell. Then in 2022, begin testing the fuel cell. So this is where the testing of the fuel cell trucks start. And begin the US Tre battery production in Coolidge. So here they'll start producing the batteries on the plant in Coolidge in United States. Then they have complete the Coolidge facility. They hope to do that in a year. That might be a bit optimistic. And then somewhere here at the end of 2023, begin production of fuel cell trucks. Now, when we see what is happening in the battery space right now, I think that if they had been ready to come out with the fuel cell truck now, as Trevor said in the beginning in 2016, then I think they would have had a true advantage. But what I can see when I'm looking at just the normal Tesla cars, but also the trucks, is that the battery capacity is growing at an exponential speed right now. And if they are ready to produce this fuel cell truck in 2023, or they say they are, then my guess is that it will be 24 or maybe 25 before it really rolls out. And the next 5 years will be explosive in the battery sector. So my guess is that maybe the fuel cell truck will be almost obsolete in 5 years. That's only my guess, and I'm not a technical engineer, so I can't say for sure, but I'm just saying that right now you can get electrical, just normal family vehicles running something like 500 miles. There's coming some new ones out with maybe 600 miles in a short while, and that is the normal cars. My guess is that in 5 years you will be able easily to have battery electrical vehicle trucks that can run somewhere between, I don't know, 700, 800, 900 miles on a charge. That is my guess, just by extrapolating the development by now. And that means that Nikola stands in a situation where they are putting tons of money in developing the fuel cell trucks and ending up with a product that is obsolete. That is just what I'm fearing. I really hope that Nikola will succeed, but I kind of fear that this is where it will end. So another thing, of course, is that when we are seeing this timeline, I know it is called the Nikola commercial truck milestones, but when I see in the plans for Nikola, I actually don't see much about the Badger. And if we go back to this collaboration here with the GM Nikola, then this is all about the Badger. And if Nikola needs, or GM produces a Badger, but Nikola should sell it, then they would have to put up an entire reseller structure and some maintenance facilities and a lot of marketing and so on. And they just have a bad brand right now. So selling the Badger will not be as easy as it used to be when everybody just believed what Trevor Milton said and parroting it in the media. So I'm not sure if GM is too happy about this timeline where all the focus is we need to get some money in selling some battery electrical trucks and not much mention about the Badger. So that's another concern I have there. So as you can see, there are a ton of different news and angles here, and I'm following this day to day. I'll not make videos of it all the time, but maybe once per month or so, I'll give you a little update where I see Nikola. Of course, it is also interesting because if Nikola is pretty much taking the hype out of the hydrogen, then there might be some businesses that get a bit squeezed here. For instance, this Norwegian company NEL that were set to produce or be the third-party deliverer of parts for all of these 1,000 hydrogen stations. If these are just, you can see, break ground for the first commercial hydrogen station, that is in at least 8 to 9 months here. And there's no more hydrogen station mentioned here. So if they are only starting to build this network in 3 or 5 or 10 years, then there might be some of the other companies that should deliver parts to them that are getting a bit squeezed here. So be aware that if you have stocks that is focused on being a third-party sales company to the Nikola, then some of these sales will be postponed. That is my guess. But I can only guess, and it is not all of this I actually know, but I just wanted to give you a recap of the situation. That's all for now. It is a kind of a complex situation, but I'm trying to analyze it as well as I can. If I have forgotten something or completely misunderstood something, you're welcome to write it down here, and I will, of course, correct in my next video. Thanks for your time this time, and take care of yourself and your money out there. Bye for now.